Happy Sunday. How is everybody? So obviously I am here with beautiful Miss Sparrow, my Nova Sparrow. So I'm in this position where I love every baby I have. They all have different meanings to me, and I wish each of them were my only one. So those who know, I guess, that whole thing I talk about wanting a zillion dolls, but really wanting that true, like, realistic connection, expression, whatever. So I invested in some Just Matte from D3 Creations. I have been told this is like the best. So I decided to give it a try. And I wanted to chat about, well, I guess silicone care, which has certainly been talked about before by people way more experienced than I am, but from my perspective, and also specifically about the idea of rematting. I don't feel like a lot of people talk about challenges that they have with their silicones, and I happen to feel that they're worth it. Seriously. But so I'm going to chat about my experience. So this baby is phenomenal. And when she arrived to me, she was pretty much brand new. And she had right here and all around the side of her leg, like kind of a shiny spot. And that was it for a while. Oh, and she had like a little square, almost looked like the shape of a brush head, shiny spot. Oh, here it is, right here. It's not sticky. And she's kind of gotten, sometimes the light will pick it up. She's got like speckled shiny spots on her knuckles. And then on her shoulders. Difference, it's spread. It's, you know, it's definitely spread. And I've only honestly heard from, you know, the general consensus and what I've heard. Like, I have heard that Claire Taylor silicone dolls tend to not need powder and not need rematting, and it's just like this magical secret that nobody knows how she does it. But other than that, I think just the mere fact that artists send matting powder home with the silicones sort of indicates that in general there will be a need to keep the doll matted, powdered. There's some differing opinions on that, but at any rate, I've sort of realized that, you know, it's not wear and tear necessarily. It's not in rub spots, and it developed quickly. Like, she's got a spot here that was the first spot that had gotten sticky. So, you know, my conclusion was that she needed to be, you know, properly rematte. And it's in no way to indicate that her artist who painted her didn't do it correctly or anything. I have zero idea. I'm just saying that it seemed like she could benefit from that. Maybe using higher quality matting powder or something during that process. I know that there's a lot that goes into it. There's cure time before you do the matting, and there's stuff that I've read that tell me there's a lot more to it than maybe what I thought or would assume, in terms of like a chemical process. But on the other hand, I've heard that rematting a doll can mute their colors, their painting, a little bit. Their details, I don't know. I think it all depends on who does it and all of that. It's fairly expensive, not when you consider the price of the dolls, but then you have, so you don't know, something could go wrong. They could come back looking different. And then you also have the idea that every time you send this doll out anywhere, anything could happen. Anything could happen in shipping. Anything could happen while they're in somebody else's care. Even if they try their best, accidents happen. So you're taking a risk every time you let the doll out of your possession, and especially when you put it in a box and give it to USPS. You don't ever really know for sure that it'll come back 100%. And even if you could somehow get them to honor the full amount that you insure it for, because as I understand it, you have to be able to prove that you paid that for it. Otherwise, people could ship broken items and put a huge insurance amount on it and just rake in the claims. Obviously you can't just claim whatever you want. So even if you could, you still can't replace that exact doll. And maybe damage would be fixable, maybe it wouldn't. So the question is to rematte or not to rematte. That is the question. And I almost booked her and sent her out to do that. And then I didn't. I did send her out to get her hair redone, but what would you guys do? So I got the D3 creation powder, and I did it, I was very I was very concentrated in her problem areas, I call them, her trouble areas, and then did a once over everywhere except for her face. And the texture's really nice and everything. What I did notice is that after a day or two of her sitting there, I wasn't touching her, that the spots that have the shiny spots, they're showing up again. There's no variation in texture between the non-shiny and the shiny, but I can still see them. So, and I know that doing touch-up matting powder is not the same. It's not as effective as doing a matting process, and that's definitely shared on D3's site. So as it stands now, especially with not looking to sell her, I think that just, powdering her as needed and just doing that upkeep is the way to go for me, just because it's all the things I mentioned about risk. But yeah, you can see her little hand. So that happens. It's not very apparent unless you point it out or the camera catches it just right. The other thing is that I think in general, I fall very strongly on both sides of the fence. On the one hand, when people feel discouraged about having a silicone because the maintenance is so much, I feel like that's ridiculous, that it's not so much. It's really not a big deal. They're, once you get the hang of changing them, they're easy to change. Once you understand the pressure points and how to pick them up correctly, you really minimize your risk for damage. All of that. On the other hand, it is more work. For example, I never tug, pull, but she still had just a little, almost looked like not a tear, but like a little surface separation on her silicone under her arm. I did the Silpoxy. I followed Kelly Girl's instructions on how to do it. It worked beautifully. It's an amazing product, but there are things that will happen. You have to watch out for that. But then it's not a big deal. The hair, I know. So I think what you have to do is even with Reborns, I feel like if you're interacting with your dolls and not just putting them on a shelf and displaying them permanently, you have to accept a certain amount of maintenance to be done with reborns and with silicones. You know, like her hair, even if it takes 10 years with a piece falling out here and there, she's probably going to need to go back and have hair added eventually. I've had no real issues, you know, other than one hair here or there of hair loss, but it's going to, you know, imagine 5 years, right? The likelihood is pretty good. But even with the vinyl reborns, if you're going to change them on a regular basis, you are rubbing on the varnish. Maybe they're very, very, very well varnished, and maybe that will never happen. But the way that most of the dolls I have owned are, the varnish is not like so thick that it's never going to wear in any spots. And if you're brushing their hair and laying them down, and even with doing conditioning treatments, I don't find that all kinds of mohair react the same to all kinds of conditioning techniques. So I just think, like, and that's another vote for it being all right to have silicones even though there's maintenance, because I feel like if you, any kind of doll, if you're, any kind of doll, if you're not going to just display them, if you're going to interact, they're going to need care. So but my question is, if you have a silicone, have you ever gone through the rematting process, and what was your experience? You know, was it any different, or did it eventually wear down again anyways? Same thing with your vinyl reborns. Have you ever sent a doll out for touch-ups, maintenance? Do you do that regularly? You know, does it stress you out? Does it freak you out? I mean, I guess there's like some things you could do, right? I think putting the hand mitts on or the plastic bags on the hands helps. I think that if you wash your hands before you handle your dolls, that helps to slow things down. I think if you're super worried, I think that you could put white gloves on every time you handle your dolls, and then you're never going to risk poking them with your fingernail, or, you know, getting your natural oils on their skin, so to speak. At the end of the day, if you aren't buying just to display, you're buying to enjoy, then with anything, just like a car, you have wear and tear, things, you know, that come with use, but you're buying it for the enjoyment of using. And so I think that if we can just, you know, understand and accept the fact that there's certain maintenance that may have to happen, unless you have, you know, one of the magical dolls that really never needs any of that, that maybe it would be less stressful or less worry. You just, you know, just go into it knowing, like, I'm buying it to enjoy it. I paid for it. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to enjoy it responsibly. And know that if there's care to be done, that is possible. There are artists that do that. Part of me feels like, you know, if you've got a lot of reborns and you know a lot about the process just from years of watching, like, it's almost worth, I'm not advising anybody to do this, but it's almost worth having a new wave oven and varnish and, you know, whatever the thinning media, whatever you need to mix that. I don't know, because I don't remember, and I'm not looking into it for myself. It's almost worth having an oven and the stuff to do revarnishing on hand just to maintain your own dolls after a certain point. Really. So that's it. Mat it to remat or not to remat? That is the question. Love you. She's so cute. So I bought this outfit, oh gosh, a year and a half ago. So I hope you're all having a great weekend too. We're in the final stretch of it. I hope you have a great week. And I look forward to your comments, sharing your experiences if you have any relevant experiences with this, or, you know, even if you don't have experiences with it, if you have input or theories or philosophies on it, I would love to hear from you too. Okay, guys, well, we love you all, and we will be back soon with more. Thank you for stopping in to hang out. We're sending out much love. Bye for now.